49-year-old unidentified man went berserk last
Where does she get her view of the world?
Shotgun. 14 people are dead, including 3
Who will be her
children.
role models? What values will she have? Whose child is she? Yours or the network's? Take back your children. Your living room is the factory. The product being manufactured is you.
The modern way of living is designed to keep us down. In a day and age where families are lucky to spend 4 to 5 hours a day with each other, the world has drastically changed from a loving, family-based way of life into a selfish, punishing, individualistic struggle to maintain our basic necessities for living. Essentially, we live in a world where in order to survive, we have to conform from the moment we are born and given a birth certificate to be a product of our society. Much of the youth in modern times are programmed from a very young age to accept and conform to this system or matrix, and are thought of as product or stock by the controlling forces of the world government system. While parents go to work, their children are brought to daycare centers before they are sent to school to begin their education. All of this time the parents are slowly getting more and more disconnected from their children and allowing a system to input its teachings, opinions, and control methods into play. Kids are brought to school and work starts very early in the morning to ensure that as we grow older, it is normal to wake up to an alarm clock every morning. This cuts off our connection to our subconscious and very important dream world. The struggle for survival, and essentially the concept of money itself, is the basis for much of the stress of people in the world. The stress on the human mind in modern times is much more than that of people of previous generations, because the system is designed to keep us in fear of the establishment. Mainstream media teaches us that we should spend our money on pointless objects, and the music we hear on the radio tells us to go to the bar and spend our money on sexual desires. The news reports the bad news first, and negative events are headlined to instill fear amongst the people that absorb the information. The energy of our emotions then affects the planet itself.
And some of you even have the nerve to say, I don't do it for the money. So what are you studying for? Because as long as you follow the rules and pass the exams, you're cool. But are you aware that examiners have a checklist? And if your answer is something outside of the box, the automatic response is a cross. And then they claim that school expands your horizons and your visions. Education is about inspiring one's mind, not just filling their head. And take this from me, because I'm a educated man myself, who only came to this realization after countless nights in the library with a can of Red Bull keeping me awake till dawn and another can in the morn, falling asleep in between piles of books which probably equated to the same amount I had spent on my rent, memorize equation, facts and dates right down to the letter, half of which I'd never remember and half of which I'd forget straight after the exam and before the start of the next semester, asking anyone if they had notes for the last lecture. I often found myself running to class just so I could find a spot on which I could rest my head and fall asleep without making a scene. Ironic, because that's the only time I ever spent in university chasing my dreams. And then after nights with a dead mind, I then find myself in a queue of half-awake student zombies waiting to hand in an assignment. Maybe that's why they called it a deadline. And then after 3 years of mental suppression and frustration, my proud mother didn't even turn up to my graduation. Redefine how you view education. Understand its true meaning. Education is not just about regurgitating facts from a book on someone else's opinion on a subject to pass an exam. Right now, there is a kid finishing parents' evening in a heated discussion with his mother, saying, why does he have to study subjects he will never ever use in his life? And she will look at him blank-eyed, stifle a sigh, think for a second, and then lie. She'll say something along the lines of, you know, to get a good job you need a good degree, and these subjects will help you get a good degree. We never had this opportunity when I was younger. And he will reply, but you were young a long time ago, weren't you, Mum? and she won't respond, although what he implies makes perfect sense, that society's needs would have changed since she was 16. But she will ignore him, grip his hand more sternly, then drag him to the car. But what she doesn't know is that she didn't ignore him just to shut him up. She didn't lie because they were just returning from parents' evening and an argument in the hallway would look bad on her resume. She won't lie because she just spent the last 1 hour convincing a stern-faced teacher that she will ensure that her child studies more at home. No, she will lie simply because she does not know any better herself. Although her whole adult life she has never used or applied Pythagoras' theorem, pathetic fallacy, and still does not know the value of x, she will rely on society to tell her that her child, who has one of the sharpest minds in the school, is hyperactive, unfocused, easily distracted, and wayward. Students, how many equations, subjects, and dates did you memorize just before an exam never to use again? How many A grades did you get which were never asked for when you applied for a job? How many times have you remembered something 5 minutes just after the teacher said stop writing, only to receive your results 1 month later to realize that you were only 1 mark short of the top grade? Does that mean remembering 5 minutes earlier would have made you more qualified for a particular job? Well, on the application form it would have. We all have different abilities, thought processes, experiences and genes. So why is a class full of individuals tested by the same means? So does that mean Sherelle thinks she's dumb because she couldn't do a couple of sums? And if this issue is not addressed properly, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then every school has the audacity to have a policy on equality. The irony. Exams are society's methods of telling you what you're worth. But you can't let society tell you what you are, because it's the same society that tells governments that preach peace but endorse wars, that say they believe so much in the importance of higher education and further learning, then why increase tuition fees every single year? Test us with tests, but the finals are never final, because they never prepare us for the biggest test, which is survival. And what I suggest is fairly outlandish, so I do not expect everyone to understand this, except for the kids who knows what it feels like to be worth no more than that D or that A that you get on results day, and the ones whose best stories were never good enough for the English teacher, because apparently you missed out key literal techniques, did not follow the class plan, and the language was too informal for him to understand. But then he'd reference Hamlet and Macbeth, and you'd fight the urge to express your contempt by partially clenching your fist with only your medius finger left protruding in the middle of your hand, and then asked if he was aware that Shakespeare was known as the innovator of slang. Or the kid at the back of the class who thinks, why am I studying something that doesn't fuel my drive? But then when confronted with a maths problem, his eyes come alive. So this one is for my generation, the ones who found what they were looking for on Google, the ones who followed their dreams on Twitter, pictured their future on Instagram, accepted destiny on Facebook. This one's for my failures and my dropouts, for my unemployed graduates, my shop assistants, cleaners and cashiers with bigger dreams, my self-employed entrepreneurs, my world changers and my dream chasers. Because the
hearing this freaking lady go off on kids because they don't freaking get this crap. If you would just get up and teach them instead of handing them a freaking packet, yo. There's kids in here who don't learn like that.
Bye.
They need to learn face to face.
Bye.
You're just getting mad because I'm pointing out the obvious and you're
because
choosing.
you're wasting my time.
No, I'm not wasting your time. I'm telling you what you need to do.
Get out.
You want kids to come into your class? You want them to get excited
Yeah,
for this? You got to come in here. You got to make them excited. You want a kid to change and start doing better? You got to touch his freaking heart. Can't expect a kid to change if all you do is just tell him.
Bye.
You gotta take this job serious. This is the future of this nation. And when you come in here, like you did last time, and make a statement about, oh, this is my paycheck, indeed it is. But this is my country's future and my education.
I respect that. Can you go outside, please?
Square biz.
But there's a limit when I'm not bitching, but simply making an observation.
Okay, okay.
And now I will leave. You're welcome.
Good, bye.
And if you would like, I'll teach you a little more so you can actually learn how to teach a freaking class. Because since I got here, I've done nothing but read packets. So don't try and take credibility for teaching me jack.
Just go, bye. Close the door.
Little baby.
We have teachers telling young people to believe what they were programmed to believe and what they must teach if they're going to keep their job in a state-imposed curriculum dictating what's right and wrong, historically true, and all the rest of it. So we turn out young kids, bright wonder of the world, this new world they're in, bright thinking, imaginative kids, and we put them through a sausage machine and turn them out the other end. And I tell you what, the very fact that so many young people are waking up and seeing the system despite going through this shows the power of consciousness over programming. John Lennon said, when I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And I told them they didn't understand life. And then there was that famous quote, that great quote, when Lennon was talking about the world, funnily enough, being run by insane people.
I think our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12, way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.